The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in.
All right, everyone, buckle up because today we're peeling back the layers on one of the most controversial stories to hit the entertainment world in recent memory. Picture this. Sean Diddy Combs, the music mogul and ultimate party king, has been arrested and thrown into the depths of the legal system. But, as if that weren't shocking enough, a Psychologist assessment has just leaked, offering a glimpse into the mind of this superstar. The report, let's just say it painted the picture you won't soon forget.
Took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
So, what's the big deal? Well, the Psychologist findings suggest that Diddy's alleged aggressive tendencies aren't just a product of his larger-than-life personality. Instead, they point to something much deeper, something stemming from a traumatic childhood that's now playing out in his adult life in ways that are both shocking and, quite frankly, terrifying. It's as if Diddy's past has come back to haunt him, and those closest to him are paying the price.
Diddy will be sued, and I say will be because nothing has been filed yet, by at least 120 people in the next 30 days. So
now, it's well known that Diddy has always been a bit of an enigma. Sure, he's a flashy, larger-than-life character, famous for his unstoppable energy, wild parties, and a never-ending stream of business ventures. But behind the glitz and glamour, rumors have been swirling for years about a darker side to the man. And now, with this latest psychological evaluation hitting the headlines, those whispers are getting louder. And what did the Psychologist actually find?
And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise.
So, according to the report, Diddy's behavior isn't just about living a high-octane lifestyle. It's something far more disturbing. The Psychologist believes that the aggressive outbursts, the controlling behavior, and his intense need for power all trace back to a childhood that was anything but normal. Allegedly, Diddy's formative years were marked by experiences that no one, especially not a young boy, should ever have to endure. It seems that he was subjected to a harsh reality early on, one that involved betrayal, degradation, and a loss of innocence that left deep scars.
Diddy's mom has finally spoken out amidst everything that is happening right now. Janice Small Combs provided a statement to some outlets via her attorney. So she starts off by saying it's very heartbreaking to see her son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies.
There's even speculation, albeit unconfirmed, that Diddy may have faced mistreatment while serving as an altar boy during his youth. It's important to note that this remains a rumor. But let's be real here. Mere suggestion has already sparked a media frenzy. Social media has been set alight with theories, drawing connections between his experiences and the wider issues of misconduct within religious institutions during that era. As people discuss these rumors, a certain picture starts to form, a picture of a young Sean Combs, possibly carrying around invisible wounds that he's never fully dealt with, and now those unhealed wounds may be manifesting in the form of the alleged incidents we're hearing about today.
He was killed when I was 3 years old. I don't have a lot of memories of my father. They say, you can't miss something you never had. So that's only a little ways right, There's definitely been times as I've gotten older that I've missed my father.
But the troubles don't stop there. Diddy's childhood was marked by other challenges that no doubt shaped him into the man he is today. His father, Melvin Combs, was tangled up with some of Harlem's most infamous figures, living a life that was constantly on the edge of danger. Imagine growing up in a home where your father was involved in some very shady business dealings. Talk about a crash course in life on the streets. With a role model like that, is it any wonder that young Sean might picked up some bad habits along the way?
Having somebody not to ask manly advice, and just things that you would ask your father. Also things that you would celebrate with him, that would make him proud, My father was a hustler.
Melvin Combs wasn't just any street hustler either. He was running with some of the top players in the Harlem underworld, people like Nicky Barnes, who was practically untouchable back in the day. And then, in 1972, it all came crashing down. Melvin was gunned down in cold blood when Diddy was just a baby, leaving his mother, Janice, to raise him alone in a world that wasn't exactly kind to single mothers. She did her best, no doubt about that. But she could only shield him from so much. The streets were always there, waiting to teach their own brutal lessons.
And so I learned early in life that there was only two ways out of that dead end jail. And, it made me work that even harder. So sometimes you can't just answer why, things happen, but.
Growing up in Harlem in the 70s and 80s wasn't a cakewalk either. It was a time of extreme turmoil with crime rates soaring and neighborhoods falling into decay. It's said that Diddy got his nickname because he was always puffing up his chest, trying to seem tougher than he really was. Back then, you had to put on a show just to survive. Imagine being a kid in that environment, learning to hustle before you could even tie your own shoes. It's the kind of background that could either break you or make you relentless. And it seems Diddy chose the latter.
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
But with all the bravado he built up, there were still cracks in the armor. It's well known that Diddy has changed his name several times throughout his career, from Puffy to Puff Daddy to Puff Daddy to Puff Daddy to Puff Daddy to P. Diddy, and now just Diddy. But have you ever stopped to wonder why? Some say it's because he's constantly trying to reinvent himself to escape the shadows of his past. And if this psychological report is to be believed, those shadows are long and dark.
I think that even if we don't know our parents, we still have their DNA in us. We have their genes. And I have this hustler's mentality, his hustler spirit, his drive, his determination, his swag.
Now, you might be wondering, what does all this have to do with the recent allegations against him? Well, according to the Psychologist, Diddy's childhood trauma didn't just fade away as he grew older. Instead, it took root and morphed into a need for control over his surroundings, over his career, and, most disturbingly, over the people in his life. This, they suggest, could explain the tales we've been hearing about Diddy's so-called freak-off parties. These weren't just wild nights. They were allegedly orchestrated events where Diddy could exercise complete dominance over others in ways that mirrored the power dynamics he was exposed to as a child.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
The report even suggests that these gatherings were more than just an outlet for blowing off steam. They were, according to the Psychologist, a twisted form of therapy, a way for Diddy to reclaim the control he felt he lost during his own upbringing. And let's not forget the troubling accounts from some of the people closest to him, like his former partner, Cassie. She's come forward with allegations that paint a disturbing picture of a man who, at times, seemed to delight in controlling and even humiliating those around him. And she's not alone. Others have come forward with similar stories, each one adding another layer to the portrait of a man whose charisma and success may mask a much darker side. Cassie's allegations were a bombshell when they first surfaced. She claimed that Diddy's behavior was anything but the public persona he liked to put on display. According to her, behind closed doors, he was controlling, possessive, and, at times, downright scary. She even described situations that sound like they were taken straight out of a thriller movie. And yet, through it all, Diddy's public image remained squeaky clean, or at least as clean as you can be when you're a hip-hop mogul. But now, with these allegations piling up, people are starting to question just how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
And if you think that Cassie's story is the only one, think again. Over the past year, a steady stream of women, and even some men, have come forward with their own tales. We're talking about stories that date back decades, each one eerily similar to the last. Take, for example, the case of Joey Dickerson-Neal. She recently filed a suit claiming that Diddy had violated her in unimaginable ways back when she was a young college student. She claims that he intoxicated her, took her to a secluded place, and proceeded to manipulate her like a piece in his untwisted game. Diddy has, of course, denied these claims, but the sheer number of accusations is hard to ignore.
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized, that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
And it's not just women who are speaking out. A man named Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who worked with Diddy as a producer, has also come forward with some explosive allegations. According to him, Diddy would routinely try to manipulate him, pushing him into situations that were uncomfortable at best and downright dangerous at worst. Jones even claims that Diddy tried to rope him into some pretty sketchy activities, all in the name of maintaining control over those around him. It's as if Diddy was trying to create a world where he was the puppet master, pulling the strings while everyone else danced to his tune. But what's most chilling is that these aren't isolated incidents. In each of these cases, we see a common thread, a pattern of behavior that seems to stretch back to Diddy's earliest days. It's like he's been playing out the same story over and over, with different characters but the same dark undercurrent. And now, as the pieces start to fall into place, we're beginning to see a fuller picture of the man behind the music. The Psychologist report has only added fuel to the fire, suggesting that Diddy's actions are rooted in unresolved issues from his past. It's a sobering thought, and one that has people wondering just how much of what we've seen from Diddy over the years was real, and how much was simply a mask to hide the pain beneath.
The only man currently facing charges in the case, Dwayne Keefe Davis, claims that Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, paid for a hit on Tupac.
So what does all this mean for Diddy now? Well, with these allegations hanging over him and a psychological profile that seems to paint him as a deeply troubled individual, it's clear that he's facing an uphill battle. The Psychologist report doesn't excuse his behavior, but it does offer an explanation, a window into a childhood filled with trauma that may have set the stage for everything that followed. And as more details come to light, it seems that we're only scratching the surface of a story that's as complex as it is disturbing.
I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
So, with everything we've uncovered about Diddy's childhood, it's pretty clear that those early experiences shaped the man he would become. But this story goes way beyond just childhood trauma. Diddy's rise to fame in the 90s wasn't your typical success story. It was a saga filled with as much drama as the man himself. And it wasn't just about music. His climb to the top is riddled with rumors of betrayal, secrecy, and even the possibility of hidden alliances that protected him from scandal after scandal.
When the whole East-West thing started, we were caught off guard, and that broke my man's heart.
Now, anyone who knows a bit about hip-hop history is familiar with the infamous East Coast-West Coast feud that rocked the music industry in the 90s. It was a time when rap wasn't just a genre. It was a time when rap wasn't just a genre. It was a full-blown culture war, and Diddy was right in the thick of it. Back then, he was more than just a record executive. He was one of the key players, making moves and, some would say, calling shots from behind the scenes. But here's the thing. While other big names got caught in the crossfire, Diddy seemed to skate by without a scratch. And that's left a lot of people wondering, how exactly did he manage to stay out of trouble?
Now for what's trending in true crime, nearly 30 years after the death of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur, the man accused of his is now claiming that Sean Diddy Combs once ordered a hit on the rap icon. In a recent court filing, a 2009 interview between police and Dwayne Keefe Davis is making headlines yet again.
For years, whispers have suggested that Diddy might have had something to do with the untimely passing of some of the biggest names in hip-hop. We're talking about the tragic losses of Shakur and Biggie Smalls, two legends whose lives were cut short at the height of their careers. Now, officially, Diddy's never been tied to these incidents. But unofficially, well, let's just say there's a lot of speculation out there. According to some sources, Diddy might have been involved in fueling the tensions that ultimately led to those tragic moments. It's a theory that's never been proven, but it's one that continues to haunt his legacy to this day.
Right now, Davis is fighting for bail ahead of his trial, which he has pleaded not guilty for.
But the speculation doesn't end there. Some say Diddy wasn't just a bystander in the feud. He may have had a hand in orchestrating events to protect his own interests. And while that's never been confirmed, it's worth noting that Diddy managed to navigate the dangerous waters of that era without any major fallout. Meanwhile, others around him fell by the wayside, often in brutal fashion. It's almost as if he had some kind of invisible shield protecting him from the worst of it.
You heard about Diddy law firm breaking ties with him and Miami Beach taking his day away?
Well, all the things that happened to Diddy and he losing friends, companies, cities, city names, city girls.
Now that brings us to another interesting point. There are those who believe that Diddy's seemingly bulletproof status wasn't just luck or savvy decision-making. Instead, they claim that he had powerful allies in high places, people with enough clout to keep him out of trouble when things got messy. Rumor has it that these mysterious benefactors may have been the ones pulling strings behind the scenes, ensuring that Diddy's rise to fame went unchallenged. After all, the entertainment industry is full of people with vested interests, and a rising star like Diddy would have been an asset to anyone looking to expand their influence. Think about it. We're talking about an industry that thrives on control, where keeping certain players in line is just part of the game. And Diddy, with his talent, charisma, and undeniable knack for self-promotion, would have been the perfect pawn, or maybe even a willing participant. Some insiders have suggested that his rapid ascent wasn't just about his own ambition, but also about the people who stood to benefit from his success. Maybe, just maybe, Diddy's empire was built on a foundation of carefully crafted alliances that allowed him to move freely, while others were left to fend for themselves.
I mean, it's a legitimate concern. You know, no judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day, oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds.
And let's not forget about the other scandals that have followed him over the years. Diddy's been in and out of the spotlight more times than anyone can count, and yet he's managed to avoid any serious repercussions. Take, for example, the numerous allegations of misconduct that have popped up over the years. Time and again, accusations have surfaced, only to be dismissed or settled out of court. It's almost as if someone, or something, was working behind the scenes to make sure Diddy stayed untouchable. Could it be that the same forces that helped him rise to fame were also helping him dodge these allegations? It's a question that's been on a lot of people's minds, especially as more and more details come to light. One theory that's been floating around is that Diddy's recent legal troubles might actually be the result of these same powerful allies finally turning against him. After all, in an industry as cutthroat as entertainment, alliances are only as strong as they are useful.
Problems that the defense has brought up originally, but it seems like, just from reading this 14-page indictment, that there is enough physical evidence to perhaps get a conviction in this case. We shall see.
But here's a twist. Some say that it's not just industry power players, but also longtime associates who are now distancing themselves from Diddy. For years, his inner circle was rock solid, made up of people who owed their own careers and success to his influence. Yet, as soon as these allegations surfaced, it seemed like those same people were quick to stay silent, or worse, to subtly imply their own suspicions. Could it be that they know more than they're letting on? There's been talk that some of Diddy's closest allies might have actually been complicit in covering up certain incidents, only to flip sides now that he's no longer untouchable. It's also interesting to note the timing of these betrayals. When Diddy was at the peak of his success, he had the loyalty of nearly everyone around him. But as his empire started to show cracks, it's as if they all sensed blood in the water. Rumor has it that some of his former proteges were just waiting for the right moment to walk away, distancing themselves from his controversies while quietly benefiting from his downfall. They say that in Hollywood, loyalty only goes as far as your last hit, and Diddy might just be learning that lesson the hard way. And then there's the media's role in all of this. Throughout Diddy's career, the press was both his biggest ally and his most ruthless critic. Now, with these recent events, it seems like they've shifted their tone, turning a magnifying glass on him in ways they never have before. Some speculate that certain journalists and publications are being fed information from sources with an agenda, using the media to dismantle his legacy piece by piece. In an era where public opinion can change overnight, Diddy's image is being shaped not just by the facts, but by the whispers that swirl around him, and that's exactly what keeps this story so compelling and unpredictable.
Now, so what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released to his mansion.
And if Diddy's no longer serving a purpose for those who once protected him, it wouldn't be surprising if they decided to cut ties and let him face the consequences on his own. Maybe he's outlived his usefulness, or maybe he's simply become too much of a liability. Either way, there's a growing sense that Diddy's fall from grace might be more than just a case of bad luck. It might be a calculated move by those who once had his back. And when you start to look at the timing of his recent arrest, things start to get even more suspicious. Some are saying that the whole thing feels a bit too convenient, almost as if it was orchestrated to distract from something bigger. Could it be that Diddy's arrest is just a smokescreen, a way to shift attention away from the darker side of the industry? After all, scandals like this have a way of sucking up all the oxygen in the room, leaving little space for anyone to question what's really going on behind the scenes. It's a tactic that's been used before, and some believe it's being used again, with Diddy as the fall guy.
It's just interesting to me that with all the money he has and all the resources he has, they couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, But the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, you know, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone.
And let's face it, the entertainment industry has always had a knack for turning on its own. When stars are no longer useful, they're often discarded without a second thought, left to fend for themselves, as the industry machine moves on to the next big thing. Could it be that Diddy is just the latest in a long line of celebrities who've been chewed up and spat out by the very industry that made him famous? It's a chilling thought, but one that seems more and more plausible as the pieces start to fall into place. What's even more intriguing is the idea that Diddy's recent troubles might actually be a form of payback. There are those who believe that Diddy has been playing a dangerous game for years, using his connections and influence to keep himself untouchable while others took the fall. And now, those same connections might be turning on him, deciding that it's finally time for him to face the music. If that's the case, then Diddy's arrest might not just be a coincidence. It could be the culmination of years of maneuvering, a carefully orchestrated takedown designed to send a message to anyone who thinks they're above the rules.
Just incredible. And, you know, it brings into context our whole system of innocent till proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, you know, we could debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent till proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, you know, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent till proven guilty. When you have...
Of course, there's no way to know for sure what's really going on. But one thing's for certain, Diddy's fall from grace has left a lot of questions unanswered. And the more we dig, the more we start to see that this story is far from over. In fact, it feels like we're just getting started, peeling back the layers of a saga that's as complex as it is captivating. So, what's next for Diddy? Well, as the court battles continue and the rumors keep swirling, it's clear that he's got a long road ahead. But whether he'll come out on the other side unscathed, or if this will be the beginning of the end, is anyone's guess. One thing's for sure, though. This is a story that's going to keep people talking for a long time to come. And as we keep digging into the darker side of Diddy's rise to fame, it's hard not to wonder, is he really just a product of his environment? Or is there something more sinister at play? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And don't hold back. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time as we uncover more of Hollywood's deepest secrets.